What is penetration testing? So basically, penetration testing is also called pen test, and it is legitimate and controlled attack on company based on your agreement with that specific company. So company is basically paying you money for you doing the hacking activities. Why hacking activities? Because you are using all the tools which are used by hackers, and hackers are using the tools for penetration testing, and penetration testers are using the tools for hacking. So this is almost the same, and they share that specific stuff. So based on the contract, you are getting the scope, and that scope can be website, that scope can be internal network, it can be cloud, it can be a mobile application. You sign that contract and you start assessment. So this is legitimate ethical hacking. So which steps of penetration testing are now on the market, and they are not changing for many years. So there are like 8 main steps. Some people saying like 10 or 7, but usually there are 8, and I will walk you through each of those steps. Step number 1 is planning and preparation. So you define the scope. What means defining the scope? You speak with client, and he's saying, I'm paying you this amount of money for this amount of time. You're doing this engagement. Or he's asking, how much time and money will it take to finish this task? Usually the second scenario works. So you provide the evaluation of the specific scope. After, client is saying, look, please do not work during the working hours. Do not work at weekends, because our SOC team will not see what you're doing. And do not overload the server with more than 50 megabytes per second, and please use VPN. So this is rules of engagement. First of all, you sign the agreement to start something. After, you put that rules of engagement into that additional paper. Obviously, you sign NDA, because without signing NDA, it is very hard to start work, because it should be guaranteed that if you are finding materials, if you are finding some sensitive data, you will not expose it. So usually it is very important to have a trust to the guy who is going to do pen test, because he is literally can exfiltrate all your company data, and this is what he is doing, like legitimately. So NDA is also signed. So legal permissions. So which system can we test? What are the limits? And who basically will get the report, and which report do you want to get? After you finish that paperwork, which is usually done by management who is controlling that account, and specialist is starting on step 2, 3, and further. So reconnaissance is starting, and on the reconnaissance stage, you are basically collecting the data about the target. You analyze emails, finding domains, leak credentials, and more stuff. On the next slides, I will go deeper on each stage. After, there is scanning and enumeration. So you need to scan system to find vulnerabilities. So on step 2, again, you just collect passively information. How? I will show you in details. In step 3, you start to do scanning and enumeration. So you start to do like more active phase. You start to port scan. You start to find open directories. You start to find backups. You start to find potential leaks. A lot of information. Step 4 is one of the most important. You start to run automatic web vulnerability scanners. You start to run tools which can detect known vulnerabilities. And on step 5, you have basically information from step 2, 3, and 4, and you can start to exploit the found vulnerability. So what is vulnerability? Vulnerability is something that can allow you to exfiltrate information, which can allow you to basically hack the specific server and exfiltrate information. It can allow you to exfiltrate some part of information. It can allow you to put down the server. So vulnerability, there are different types of vulnerabilities, and I will tell you about most of the types of vulnerabilities, so you will understand which types of vulnerabilities are known. So on step 5, you exploit found vulnerabilities. So there is usually a big gap between finding vulnerabilities and exploiting vulnerabilities, because when you find vulnerability, you can stop and you can report to the client and you can say, look, I found very critical vulnerability. Do you want me to continue exploiting it? Some clients are saying, okay, you can continue doing this. Some will say, stop. No, this is like too much. We didn't expect that you will get that much far. So it's also very important to understand that there is penetration testing and there is vulnerability assessment and red teaming. During red teaming, you potentially, based on the contract, you don't even need to ask sometimes. So if you see the system which is hackable, you basically hack it and you try to expand on that system to further systems. If this is vulnerability assessment, obviously what you are doing is you are not going to the step 5. So you don't exploit. Obviously, you don't go to post-exploitation. So what is post-exploitation? Is when you hack something, right? You start to elevate privileges. You hack the user, and you want to become admin. You hack the user. You want to hack all the users having the same vulnerability. After step 7, it is reporting, and step 8 is remediation. So here is the better breakdown. On step 1, again, we just define the scope and we finish all the legal stuff. Just some example of tools which is used in penetration testing for finding vulnerabilities. So the most common one, maybe you heard about it, it is Nmap. So that tool, if you will download that tool, it is a free tool, it's called Nmap. You can just download it and run it against any host. So it will find ports. So host, ports, tools, it can be a little bit like complex for people who don't know that stuff. So let me break it down. Each website usually by default is running on port 80. So developers know that port 22 is usually used for SSH. Also, there are like RDP, MySQL, FTP, and a lot of different protocols. And all those protocols, they could be vulnerable the same way as web. So based on this information, we need to collect all those ports and be sure that we know exactly which protocols are running. Because if we are hacking the website and the database is open, do we need to hack the website? I think no. Why do we need to hack the website if the database is open? We can just connect and download the database. So first stage is obviously collection of information, running the tools which can allow you to find the ports. And after, you just need to work with each port. HTTP is usually hosting the websites. The websites are the most advanced technology which we are having among the different ports. For example, if we compare like HTTP protocol with FTP, in FTP you just store the folders, right, and files. In SSH you can run some commands, right, but that protocol is very limited. On the website, big amount of technologies is used on the website. So web sites are the most critical stuff, and mostly the websites are having most of the vulnerabilities. There are some commercial tools which you can also check. It's Aconetics, Nessus, Nesparker, Burpsuit, and I will show you the examples of reports from all those tools. You will see the reports. So guys who purchase those tools, they have ability to open the tool, input the website or input the subnet, and I will show you the report and how to do it. So it's like pretty easy. In Nmap or in similar software, there are like 15 similar software, and they all scan TCP ports and UDP ports. So there are two types of protocols which you can scan: TCP and UDP. So you can start the service on the UDP port, and if you scan only TCP ports, you will not see the specific port open on the server. So there are 65,535 ports on each. So you need to scan 2 times by 65,000 to find all. But hackers are not doing that stuff because it's not like really smart. It's taking time. So they just use top 100 ports. Top 100 ports are usually known ports to be deployed by common services. So hackers are usually skipping the full scan to save time. But if they are not getting what they need, they can rescan using the full amount of ports. So on port 80, you can deploy RDP, potentially. You can do it. On port 80, you can deploy SSH. You can do whatever you want. On any port, you can deploy whatever you want. It doesn't matter. So how the system works, it will connect to that specific protocol. It will grab the banner. And based on the banner, it will detect the protocol. So what is banner? Banner is when you are creating the socket with the specific port, that port should send you banner by default. That banner can be like, for example, SMTP will say, hello, I'm SMTP server. And based on that banner, even if it will be port 80 or 443, you will be able to understand it.